So recently, there's been a rumor going around about a Final Fantasy XV Remaster, but it has me incredibly sad because I don't think this rumor is actually true. I don't think it's something that's actually going to happen, but I genuinely think that it is something that Square Enix should do. Final Fantasy XV is, at the very least, sales-wise, one of the most successful Final Fantasies of all time. Now, you can definitely debate that statement on every other aspect of the game. It was one of the only games post-10 that really achieved the level of success that they were hoping for. Because of that, it really does make sense to follow it up. And all of their mega successful Final Fantasies typically do have a follow-up. Just look at 7, the compilation, and its remake, Final Fantasy X and X-2. And it seems to me like it would just make sense to follow up the success of Final Fantasy XV in some way. And while I think the argument that we should just move on to Final Fantasy XVII to be a perfectly fine one, and in fact probably the most sensible thing to do, I also don't think that in terms of revisiting old Final Fantasies, especially for stuff that can be outsourced to external studios, for this to be a bad idea and something that Square Enix should probably look into, although I feel pretty confident that this rumor is not real, and I'll explain why in just a bit. But before we get into that, make sure you have Monster Hunter Wilds pre-ordered, and you can get it on Steam for only $55 thanks to our sponsor Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an authorized code reseller who brings you codes for Steam and other platforms for an insanely cheap price. And every month, they allow us to give away a free game of your choice. All you have to do is smack that orange participate button. So be sure to check them out with the link in the description and pinned comment below. So this rumor was posted to Reddit via a site called Genker, and then it was being shared on Twitter throughout the weekend. Here is what the rumor has to say. It's not supposed to be coming anytime soon, but here's what's rumored to be done. All new version of the game with heavy asset reuse. Events from DLC and other media will be rearranged throughout the campaign. New playable areas. No comrade stuff or online game associated things. Combat will be reworked to resemble 7R and more members will be added. This is the part where, you know, I absolutely love Final Fantasy VII Re-Trilogy combat, and I think nothing would satisfy me more than to see Final Fantasy XV kind of get a Crisis Core Reunion style rework, see the command menu and the ATB bars, and having the Final Fantasy series embracing this style of combat. Now, if we click through the link and we go to the website Genker, which sounds like a euphemism for we'll notice that this rumor was posted June 5th, 2023. Now, to be fair to the supposed leaker, this isn't supposed to be coming anytime soon. However, the most legitimate game leaks are almost never years in advance. Legit game leaks tend to be happening a few months or a few weeks before a game is announced. But for this to be leaked out at the very least more than 2 years before it's announced, it seems a little sus to me. Probably the biggest reason that I doubt this is happening, other than the fact that anytime a rumor is too good to be true, I almost never believe it. I only believe negative bad rumors in video games because negative bad rumors are almost always true, and positive good stuff is like never true. Like whenever you read it and it's like awesome, it's like this is gonna change gaming, it never happens. But whenever it's a rumor that like life is canceled and everything is bad, that rumor is probably true. As you can tell, I'm an optimist. So of course, if you read this paragraph right here, now that may strike people as odd, but with all the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth rumors, it makes sense that it's supposed to have an open world to mirror the overworld in the original game where you ride around in vehicles, so they're taking stuff from games they are already making. And of course, this was wrote before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, and that much did turn out to be true. They'll also be making new cinematics, but not everything will be 3D. A good portion are supposed to be animated 2D paintings. This is actually something they did when they patched Final Fantasy XV because they wanted to include things like the lore between Shiva and Ifrit and their love. So they made these 2D animated paintings to depict that story, and that was a sort of budget-friendly way of doing it rather than having Visual Works, their internal CGI studio, make this incredibly expensive cutscene just to be patched into the game. It then says, so if you bought the game or even Royal Edition, it sounds like it's going to be a different experience. experience. This was really the most troubled of the more recent Final Fantasies, and maybe Square Enix is trying to fix it for a new console generation. Like, potential was there, but everything was discombobulated mishmash of half-baked. Would be great if they were trying to somehow redeem its flawed legacy. Yeah man, honestly nothing I would want to see more. In today's day and age, for better or for worse, PlayStation 4 remasters are not that uncommon. We see them all the time. Horizon Zero Dawn just got one. The Last of Us Part 1, a full remake of a PS3 game. So if you were to do a version of Final Fantasy XV based on the Windows Edition, bringing that back to PS5, having a ton of all new cutscenes that can better explain all the giant craters in the story, being able to rework the combat so that it more resembles something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which the overwhelming majority of fans, time and time again, have demonstrated that they agree should be the standard of Final Fantasy combat going forward. And taking your time to give us the most complete version of Final Fantasy XV that you possibly can via this ultimate remaster. Doesn't need to be a full remake, doesn't have to be like literally Final Fantasy versus 13, literally being versus 13 would be nice. I think this sort of remaster would be incredibly popular, so well, and to me just makes a lot of sense. Again, whoever came up with this, they're probably making stuff up, but this is a really cost-effective proposal and something that would do pretty well. And at some point it is going to make sense to remaster this game, then why not do this? Of course, I know some of you are thinking about Verum Rex, you're thinking about still wanting Final Fantasy versus 13. I, myself included, am kind of one of those people. I would love to see that come to fruition somehow, some way. But I do think that probably seems even less likely than this. But a very high-end remaster that goes in, fixes the combat, adds some new cutscenes, reworks the DLC into the main campaign, and creates an ultimate remastered Final Fantasy XV that has a whole and complete story by maybe tweaking some things, making Lunafreya or Aranea playable characters, and as the rumor said, new playable areas. So maybe actually getting to explore places like Tenebrae, maybe actually getting to see more of Niflheim. Again, you know, assuming that they just take the same game, you know, take that engine and releasing this fuller, more complete remaster version, they'd be able to explore a lot of things that were not able to explore in the original launch of the game. And I think it would be able to quell this almost decade and a half part of my brain that still craves Final Fantasy XV in the way that it was originally sold to me through the Versus trailers and the early trailers for 15. I also genuinely think that if this is something that they ever did end up doing, it could potentially make Final Fantasy XV one of my favorite Final Fantasy games ever. Like, just going back and reading through this rumor, if they were to create all of this, if they were to really do all of this version of Final Fantasy XV, go back and revamp the combat with Final Fantasy VII Remake style combat, actually finish and make the story complete, and rework all the DLC content directly into the game, yeah, that's just going to move FF15 up several tiers for me. But yeah, I just can't bring myself to think this is real. It's just too based for Square Enix to actually be doing it. When is the last time they've done something this based? I don't know. I would love to be proven wrong. I am praying I am proven wrong and that, you know, maybe this is true. It has been circulating again for whatever reason, I guess because this person dug it up and reshared it. It's personally my first time ever seeing this rumor, and as I saw it, there was just two parts of me. One part was just really excited and really happy, and the other part was just so dreadfully sad because I know that Final Fantasy XV, if it was done right, it could have been one of the most amazing video games ever released ever. And that's not to say that, you know, the finished Final Fantasy XV, so to speak, that we got all the way back in 2016, in a weird way, I still like the game. And I met so many people that I wouldn't have met without it. And of course, again, Night Sky Prince, I would have never chosen that name had I not seen Noctis back in the Versus 13 trailers, which is where that comes from. And the entire journey that we've gone on together with this channel is because of Final Fantasy XV. FF15. I literally created this channel to cover the post-launch of FF15, and now here we are here today. So all of this being said, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is something that Square Enix should do, especially if they could have an external studio working on it, so that it wouldn't necessarily take away from resources like Kingdom Hearts 4 or Final Fantasy XVII or anything like that? Do you think we should just move on? We don't need to remaster Final Fantasy 15. It's good enough as it is. The PS4 version works on the PS5. I know a lot of you are going to say, no, we need to focus on Final Fantasy 13, and there's a good point there because Final Fantasy 13 can't even run on the PS5 currently speaking. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to check out Instant Gaming and pre-order Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.